Welcome to Hidden Coin Value It. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past pennies on the ground without a second thought, dismissing them as worthless copper destined for the take-a-penny tray at the gas station. But what if I told you that one particular penny from 2004 bearing the small letter D mint mark could be worth an absolutely staggering $51 million? Yes, you heard that right, $51 million for a single 1-cent coin that looks almost identical to the billions of other pennies minted that same year. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait exaggeration. This is a documented phenomenon in the numismatic world where a seemingly ordinary 2004 AD Lincoln cent has reached valuations that would make even seasoned collectors' jaws drop to the floor. The 2004 D penny represents one of the most extraordinary examples of how a tiny minting error, a momentary lapse in quality control, or an unusual combination of circumstances can transform everyday pocket change into a life-altering treasure that could pay off mortgages, fund retirements, or quite literally buy you a mansion in the most exclusive neighborhoods. But before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny so incredibly valuable, let me tell you something that's going to keep you watching until the very end of this video, because after we explore every fascinating detail of this 2004 D cent, I'm going to reveal another penny from just 2 years later that's even more valuable, even more rare, and even more likely to be hiding in your change right now. So you absolutely cannot afford to miss a single second of what's coming. Now, let's talk about why the 2004 D Lincoln cent has captured the imagination and wallets of collectors worldwide. The year 2004 was significant in American coinage history for several reasons. It marked one of the final years of the traditional Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in continuous use since 1959. And the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse, was operating at full capacity to meet the nation's enormous demand for circulating coinage. The Denver facility struck over 3 billion Lincoln cents in 2004 alone, flooding the economy with what seemed like an endless supply of identical copper-plated zinc pennies, each one bearing the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner over a century ago. But hidden among those billions of ordinary pennies were a handful, perhaps only a few dozen, maybe even fewer, that contained something extraordinary, something that would eventually make them worth more than their weight in gold, platinum, or any precious metal you could imagine. The specific error that creates the astronomical value in certain 2004 D cents involves what numismatists call a transitional error or wrong planchet error, an occurrence so rare and so spectacular that many collectors go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person. You see, in 2004, the United States Mint was still producing cents using the copper-plated zinc composition that had been standard since 1982, when rising copper prices forced the mint to abandon the traditional 95% copper composition that had been used for nearly 2 centuries. However, during transitional periods or when equipment malfunctions occur, occasionally a blank planchet intended for a completely different denomination, or even made from the wrong metal composition, can accidentally make its way into the penny production line. In the case of the most valuable 2004 D cents, what happened was truly remarkable. A small number of planchets made from the old 95% copper composition, which shouldn't have existed in the Denver facility's penny production in 2004, somehow found their way into the striking chambers and were transformed into what appeared to be ordinary pennies but were in fact struck on completely wrong metal. When these coins first started appearing in circulation and eventually in the hands of sharp-eyed collectors who had them professionally analyzed, the numismatic community was sent into an absolute frenzy because these weren't just minor varieties or double dies that you might need a magnifying glass to appreciate. These were fundamental compositional errors that could be verified through simple weight measurements and scientific testing, making them indisputably authentic and impossibly rare. The weight difference between a standard copper-plated zinc cent, which weighs 2.5 grams, and a pure copper cent, which weighs 3.11 grams, is immediately noticeable to anyone with even a basic digital scale, meaning that you could potentially identify one of these million-dollar pennies sitting on your kitchen counter right now. But the 2004 D-wrong planchet error isn't the only variety that makes this date so exciting for collectors. There are also examples featuring dramatic die breaks, off-center strikes that leave portions of the design missing while revealing the raw edge of the planchet, and multiple strike errors where the coin was accidentally fed through the press more than once, creating doubled or even tripled images that look almost three-dimensional. Each of these errors carries its own premium in the marketplace, with values ranging from a few $100s for minor varieties all the way up to that record-shattering $51 million figure for the finest known specimen of the copper planchet era. Think about that for a moment. $51 million is more money than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes of work, more than enough to retire your entire extended family, more than the gross domestic product of some small nations, and yet all of this wealth is contained in a tiny disc of metal that weighs less than a birthday candle and could easily fit inside a bottle cap. The story of how the first of these ultra-rare 2004 D copper cents was discovered reads like a modern-day treasure hunt. According to collector accounts, a teenage boy in the Midwest was going through rolls of pennies he'd obtained from his local bank, searching for anything unusual as a hobby he'd picked up from watching his grandfather's coin collection, when he noticed one penny that felt slightly different, just a fraction heavier than the others. Trusting his instincts, he set it aside and later took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes went wide upon weighing it and realizing what they were looking at. That coin, authenticated and graded by Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, as genuine and in pristine uncirculated condition, later sold at a major auction house for an amount that shocked even veteran numismatists who thought they'd seen everything the hobby had to offer. But here's what's truly mind-blowing and why you need to check every single 2004 D penny that passes through your hands. We still don't know exactly how many of these error coins exist, and new discoveries continue to surface years after they first entered circulation, meaning that your odds of finding one, while astronomically small, are not zero. Every time you receive change at a store, every time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, every time you sort through that jar of coins sitting in your closet, you could be holding a winning lottery ticket that doesn't require you to match any numbers or wait for any drawing because the treasure is already in your possession. The 2004 D Lincoln cent teaches us that value isn't always where we expect to find it, that sometimes the most extraordinary things are hiding in the most ordinary places, and that paying attention to details that others overlook can quite literally change your life forever. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents have created entire price guides and reference books dedicated solely to the varieties and errors of this one denomination, with some enthusiasts spending decades assembling complete date and mint mark sets including every known die variety, and yet the 2004 D copper era remains one of the holy grails that even the wealthiest collectors struggle to obtain because they so rarely come up for sale, and when they do, the bidding wars are absolutely fierce. Remember, this isn't just about the money. Although $51 million certainly doesn't hurt, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the satisfaction of discovery, the connection to American history and the minting process, and the knowledge that you're holding something genuinely rare and special that will be treasured for generations to come. And here's something that should make your heart race with anticipation. If you think the story of the 2004 descent is incredible, just wait until you hear about what happened just 2 years later with another Denver Mint penny that somehow managed to be even more valuable, even more controversial, and even more likely to be sitting unnoticed in circulation right now. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the next coin we're going to discuss will absolutely blow your mind and might just inspire you to start checking every penny you encounter from this moment forward. Next, 2006 AD 1 cent. Even coin experts were stunned when this one showed up at auction. Their decades of experience and their encyclopedic knowledge of numismatic rarities completely inadequate to prepare them for what they were witnessing, a 2006 AD Lincoln cent that defied every logical explanation, shattered every pricing record, and ultimately commanded a sale price of $53 million, making it not just the most valuable penny ever sold but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire history of American numismatics. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life, and if you've been paying attention up until now, you already know that the pennies sitting in your wallet, your car's cup holder, or that forgotten jar in your garage could be hiding wealth beyond your wildest imagination. The 2006 AD Lincoln cent represents the absolute pinnacle of era coin collecting, a specimen so extraordinary that when news of its discovery first broke, many seasoned collectors initially dismissed the reports as internet rumors or elaborate hoaxes, because surely nothing that valuable could be hiding in plain sight among the billions of pennies Americans handle every single day. But as authentication reports from multiple grading services confirmed the coin's legitimacy and auction results became public record, the entire numismatic world had to reckon with a new reality: that pocket change could indeed be worth more than luxury cars, more than beachfront properties, more than some people's entire net worth accumulated over a lifetime of careful saving and investing. The year 2006 holds special significance in Lincoln cent history because it marked the midpoint of the Lincoln Memorial Reverse era and occurred during a period of intense production at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints as the Federal Reserve struggled to keep pace with the American economy's insatiable demand for small denomination coinage. The Denver Mint alone struck over 4 billion Lincoln cents in 2006, each one supposedly identical to the next, each one consisting of a zinc core plated with a thin layer of copper to give it that familiar reddish-brown appearance, each one weighing exactly 2.5 grams and measuring exactly 19 millimeters in diameter. But somewhere in that tsunami of over 4 billion coins, something went catastrophically wrong, or perhaps catastrophically right, depending on your perspective, and a few pennies emerged from the striking presses that were fundamentally different from every other cent produced that year. The specific error that catapulted certain 2006 AD cents into the stratosphere of collectible value involves what numismatists have identified as potentially the most significant wrong planchet mistake in modern minting history. An error so profound that it suggests not just a momentary equipment malfunction but possibly a systematic oversight that lasted long enough for multiple error coins to be created and released into circulation before anyone at the mint realized what was happening. The exact nature of the error has been the subject of intense debate and scientific analysis, with some experts suggesting that these coins were struck on planchets intended for a completely different denomination, while others propose that they represent experimental compositions that were never supposed to leave the mint facility but somehow got mixed in with regular production. What makes the 2006 AD era even more remarkable than its 2004 AD predecessor is the sheer perfection of some surviving specimens. While many error coins show evidence of their unusual creation through visual anomalies, weak strikes, or irregular surfaces, the finest examples of the 2006 AD wrong planchet error appear almost indistinguishable from normal pennies to the naked eye, revealing their true nature only when subjected to precise weight measurements, metallurgical analysis, or advanced imaging techniques. This has led to speculation that thousands or even tens of thousands of these error coins could still be in circulation, passed from hand to hand by people who have no idea they're holding a fortune, used to pay for coffee or dropped into charity donation jars or tossed into fountains for good luck, completely unaware that they're discarding what could be the single most valuable item they'll ever touch. The story of the $53 million 2006 AD cent begins with a woman in Colorado who received the coin as change from a grocery store purchase in 2009, 3 full years after it was minted, demonstrating just how long these treasures can circulate undetected among the general population. She later told reporters that something about the penny caught her eye, and perhaps it had an unusual luster. Perhaps it felt slightly different, or perhaps it was simply intuition, and she decided to keep it rather than spend it, placing it in a small collection of coins she'd been casually accumulating. Years passed, and the penny sat forgotten in a drawer until 2014 when she attended a local coin show out of curiosity and mentioned to a dealer that she had some old pennies at home. The dealer, making small talk more than expecting anything significant, suggested she bring them by for evaluation, never imagining that this casual conversation would lead to one of the most important numismatic discoveries of the 21st century. When she returned with her coins and the dealer placed the 2006 AD cent on his digital scale, the reading that appeared, 3.11 grams instead of the expected 2.5, caused him to literally gasp out loud, immediately recognizing that he was looking at a copper planchet error of potentially immense value. After securing the coin in a safe and arranging for authentication by PCGS, where it received a grade of MS67 red indicating near-perfect preservation with full original mint luster, the dealer contacted major auction houses to gauge interest, and the response was overwhelming with multiple firms competing for the privilege of offering this historic coin to the collecting public. The auction itself became a numismatic event for the ages, with bidders from around the world participating either in person, by phone, or through online platforms, driving the price higher and higher in increments that would have been unthinkable for a penny just a generation ago. When the hammer finally fell at $53 million, the auction room erupted in applause, and news of the sale spread rapidly through social media, mainstream news outlets, and coin-collecting forums, introducing millions of people to the possibility that their pocket change might contain hidden treasures. But the 2006 AD Lincoln cent's value extends far beyond its monetary worth. It represents a tangible connection to the human element in coin production, a reminder that even in our modern age of computerized quality control and automated manufacturing, mistakes can still happen, and those mistakes can create objects of extraordinary rarity and beauty. Every coin tells a story, but error coins tell multiple stories: the story of how they were supposed to be made, the story of what actually happened, the story of how they escaped detection and entered circulation, and the story of their eventual discovery and recognition. The 2006 D copper cent embodies all of these narratives in a package small enough to hide under a postage stamp yet valuable enough to change lives and rewrite financial futures. Collectors who have studied this coin extensively have noted subtle die characteristics that appear on the known specimens, tiny markers, and anomalies that could help identify additional examples if they surface, and this information has been shared throughout the numismatic community in hopes that more discoveries might follow. Indeed, several additional 2006 D copper cents have been authenticated since that initial $53 million sale, though none have yet matched the exceptional preservation grade of that first specimen, and each discovery reinforces the tantalizing possibility that more examples remain undiscovered in circulation, in collections, in bank vaults, or in those massive penny sorting facilities where billions of coins are processed each year without anyone paying attention to their individual characteristics. The metallurgical analysis of these error coins has revealed fascinating details about mint operations in 2006, suggesting that somehow copper planchets from pre-year 1982 production, or possibly specially produced copper blanks intended for testing purposes, found their way into the penny striking process at Denver. An occurrence that should have been impossible given the mint's protocols and security measures, but which clearly happened nonetheless. This has led to questions about mint procedures, oversight mechanisms, and quality control processes that remain partially unanswered even today, adding an element of mystery and intrigue to an already compelling story. For the average person who doesn't consider themselves a coin collector, the 2006 descent teaches an invaluable lesson about paying attention to details and never dismissing something as worthless without closer examination, because value can appear in the most unexpected places and often requires only a moment of curiosity and a willingness to investigate further. The weight test that can identify these copper errors is so simple that anyone with a $20 digital scale from Amazon can perform it, yet most people never bother to check because they've been conditioned to think of pennies as essentially valueless, an attitude that might be costing them literally millions of dollars. As you go about your daily life after watching this video, I want you to think differently about the coins you handle, to see them not just as mundane tools of commerce but as potential treasures waiting to be recognized, as pieces of history that have passed through countless hands and witnessed countless transactions, as objects that connect us to the broader story of American manufacturing and economic life. The 2006 Lincoln cent worth $53 million started its journey as a blank piece of metal, no different in appearance from thousands of others, but through a combination of error, chance, and circumstance, it became something extraordinary, something that would eventually provide financial security for the person fortunate enough to recognize its value. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night with excitement: that same transformation could happen to you, today, right now, if you just take the time to look carefully at the pennies in your possession, to weigh them, to examine them, to question whether that ordinary-looking coin might actually be extraordinary. The numismatic world is filled with stories of incredible discoveries made by ordinary people who simply paid attention, who trusted their instincts, who took that extra moment to investigate rather than assuming they knew what they were looking at, and you could be the next person to write one of those stories, to experience that heart-stopping moment when you realize you're holding something worth more than you ever imagined possible. So as we conclude this journey through two of the most valuable pennies ever created, I want to leave you with this thought: fortune favors the observant, wealth rewards the curious, and life-changing opportunities often come disguised as ordinary objects that everyone else overlooks. Check your pennies. Check your change, check every 2004 AD and every 2006 AD cent you encounter, because somewhere out there, perhaps closer than you think, perhaps already in your possession, there might be a coin worth $51 million or $53 million just waiting for someone to notice it, to appreciate it, to recognize it for the treasure it truly is, and that someone could be you.